All right, so 203? 203. Gemini. Gemini energy, third house. Um, Gemini is a neat energy. It's the house of knowledge, house of learning. It's about very much how we absorb information and absorb understanding. And so Gemini becomes then a representation of thought flow into ourselves and outward from ourselves. This is why it's often seen as the twins, because it is a dialect, an understanding, a connection between 2 points. How great is it when that connection point just automatically gets itself and flows with itself and absorbs itself, right? It's got just sort of this nature of engaging all things in curiosity and understanding. This is why a lot of Geminis usually find themselves to be very bookwormish, deep in study, deep in inquiry. I know a lot of Geminis that just like to be lifelong students. They never really give it up. The more that there's something going on within the interaction of the mind, the happier that they tend to be. Now, breaking down and understanding the air signs, you want to visualize bodies of thought or concept. Aquarius being the largest of this, it's usually seen as a large storm, a large area, a large space. Libra being the balancer between the two, the scales, equal exchange, negotiation, and understanding. The Gemini does not necessarily require that same balance of flow, though. It is to say sometimes Gemini is just about the interaction of itself with something else. And so that signal point, that reverberation, that balancing and activity of energy and form back and forth. Gemini wants interaction, it seeks interaction, it seeks interplay. It is through that interplay that it does some of its best self-development, growth, and evolution. It allows Gemini to expand itself through interaction, knowledge, and understanding. This can make some Geminis, like Gemini Sun's, tricky. There you're seeing sort of a heavy placement of, it's all about the pursuit of thought at that point. And that could be somewhat problematic because it's that pure focus of thought and idea and energy. But I would say it's not so much a disadvantage to be Gemini Sun as it is a lifelong study, a lifelong pursuit of study in every way that I've seen them kind of come out. What that environment or body of study comes down to does tie into the rest of the chart. It would depend and vary depending on other placements, but there is always something that will spark the curiosity and engage the mind of a Gemini better than most. It's just in the nature of the creature. Interaction, the way signals are sent, the way handshakes occur, the way 2 people to 1,000 people engage and share in a moment and share in a possibility, but also teach others and show others the way to that. Strongly placed Gemini usually allows for an understanding and comprehension. And shit, just grabbed my little magic book here. This is why you keep things written down in a magic book after all. I've been against, honestly, having little magic bits. Where is my cheat list? There are certain places where planets are in detriment or exaltation, and memorizing them, pain in the ass. However, once you've gotten it into you, typically it doesn't leave you. My way of doing this, always been with writing. Gemini has a placement. I'm trying to remember specifically where it is. I don't see it here for some reason. Which in its own right, wouldn't that be interesting if Gemini's the only one that doesn't suffer? It is Mercury. Okay, why is my Mercury on the bottom? Gemini and Mercury is a ruler and dynamic. There was somebody that once described Mercury and its personality and its form very much as Gemini. It just wants to send the message. It just wants to send the transmission. That's why Mercury becomes that planet ruling transmission, and when Mercury retrograde occurs, everything just goes helter-skelter. Gemini has to have that engaging of activity and form. If it's not engaged, if it's not active, if it's not pursuing, It doesn't feel right in itself. It's never chill. And it's unfortunate that it's never chill, but sometimes it's the nature of the beast. So, well placed with a Mercury Gemini, the thought process is perfect and awesome. But if the Gemini suffers poor placements in a Mercury or other areas that touch on communication like Uranus, and to a different extent Neptune, it can sometimes become a hazard that undermines the quality of thought and the quality of form there. Gemini has to realize that if they get narrow in their thought process and their form, it becomes almost destructive to the nature of their being. Gemini has to be open to what possibilities are out there. There's detriment under Jupiter, and that could be seen and understood as if Gemini loses a sense of the magic, everything goes helter-skelter. Now, what else on Gemini? Air energy, masculine form, typically seen in pursuit of thought and pursuit of growth. Gemini is also called the twins, but look at the twins for their nature of interaction, constantly in interaction, no matter how they try, no matter how they avoid. Communication, knowledge, it is the scholar's house. There's a lot towards study, school, pursuit of understanding. A lot of scholars in Gemini, just to say, like, if you want to know more about the world, there's definitely an air placement that kind of comes into it, but Gemini, it's not always the world, it's something of an obsession. It's a mutable sign. The thing with mutables is I don't find them as consistent in their form and their nature. Cardinal is trying to find balance in all things. A fixed, it just is what it is, and it's not going to change from what it is. Mutables will go with the flow and go with the nature of what opportunity is presented to them. This can make a lot of Geminis very, to an outsider, unreliable. To inside the Gemini, it just becomes, well, of course I had to do that. That's where the next best knowledge was going to be from. That's where the next study was. In my development, this was the logical next step. Logic is within Gemini, but it's usually a logic of their own. It's a logic of their own study. And I find that way with almost all mutables. They're usually within their own study. That's why Virgos are such a pain in the butts. What else with Gemini? Honestly, I should just keep repolishing this up every year. Add more information, add more form. It's probably going to be the best way to go about it. Probably going to be the most Nickish way to go about it, to be honest. Okay, we're talking about Gemini, and look what comes up. Good ideas. Best placed, a Gemini in its activities and its forms is areas where it can constantly be learning from the people around it. Be careful what people Gemini associates too closely with. Be careful. The two things I think with Gemini to watch is what people are they associating with and how do they talk about people that aren't around. More than anyone else, I find that to be very, very true to the character of the Gemini when you kind of look at those characteristics and those evaluations. Intelligent, aware, but that constant student form sometimes makes them a little bit inconsistent in their actions and their activity. It just falls into the nature of a mutable sign. Exuberant and exciting, but very much in the Page of Cups kind of dynamic. Page of Swords dynamic. They've got great ideas, great concepts. Sometimes wielding them can be a little bit unruly, difficult to manage, or difficult to form. Duality does exist within the nature of the Gemini, yes, but only if you see the interaction as Lilith and Gemini teaches us that our interaction with outside is not necessarily needing to be divided. It doesn't have to be against anything besides just interaction. That's the liberating point that prevents you from finding things to interact with. And that's Gemini's overall problem, is that it's always looking for interaction. Lilith just pulls it out. That's why I like Lilith placements. What else, Gemini? Well, while we're here, might as well go through the signs. Gemini and Mercury. Gemini and Mercury is just supercharged, super intelligent, super communicative, super engaging, always kind of putting their flow and their nature and their energy kind of out there. Gemini moving over to Mars, Venus. Sometimes difficult to contain, difficult to balance. The excitement has to be there and the engagement has to be there, or else they might wane. There's a certain need for exuberance and understanding within the relationship as well. Gemini and Mars, tactical, very tactical. I would actually be a little bit careful with that placement because that could lead a person to be a little bit more of a knife's edge than they mean to, and just need to make sure that they're not coming out to be harsh and critical. Jupiter and Gemini. Jupiter and Gemini can be a little bit of a pain in the ass because it's forcing magic into something that can't be understood, and so this is where if Gemini loses touch with the magic, they lose their mind. That's what it basically comes down to. And at what point do they lose touch with the magic, become disenfranchised and disenchanted with the world at large? Gemini and Saturn, not awful, but this is another case where if it is in contest or argument with the life around it, then it's going to kind of cause problems and cause mischief. Gemini and Saturn usually is trying to force us to recognize what our connections are doing, what our connections are forming us towards. Why that crowd? Why that people? Why that energy? Why that flow? Neptune and Gemini would be looking and engaging with the energies and forms of comeback brain. Gemini and Neptune would be engaging with the energies and forms of seeing the emotional nature of the world, but how it connects, how it flows, trying to sort of interact and interlace with these people, trying to find the flow and the understanding of people. Sociology definitely does kind of come to mind in the concept of it. Uranus and Gemini, probably highly intuitive and probably highly connected to the undertones of people and the energies in their forms, easily gets along with people, easily talks to people, kind of figures out what language, what words, what taste to kind of use and what form to kind of deliver. Pluto and Gemini can be definitely fun. It's one of the good placements for it. My only thought there with Pluto and Gemini, what are you allowing yourself to bring up in thought? What are you allowing yourself to challenge in thought? That's like, I like brash and straightforward people, and that's why I think I like the Pluto and Gemini. It's a little bit harsh. It's It's cutting. It's definitely cutting. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, there's Gemini. Good luck, have fun.